Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Living Lives. Thanks for coming back. I know I took last week off because I was traveling, but this week I have a real fun guest, actually someone I met while I was traveling. His name is Fred Mayo, and he is Dr. Fred Mayo. Actually, he is a professor of hospitality and tourism, and he's retired now, but he's also written a book that we're going to talk about, and he's done a lot of traveling. So man after my own heart, because you know me, I like to travel and have lots of adventures. So he's also been for 12 years, he was the academic dean at the Culinary Institute of America, which for those of you in this area, he is near us. And I know many of my friends here have been there, although I myself have not. I'll have to remedy that soon. So I want to welcome Fred to the show. Welcome, Fred. Thanks.
Good morning and welcome. Or maybe I should say good afternoon.
Yeah,
Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It was great getting to know you over the past week when we were up at Easton Mountain, and people hear me talk about Easton Mountain all the time, and I've had other guests from there. But it's I make lots of good connections there, so I'm looking forward to some upcoming guests, but also to chatting with you today. So how did you get involved in the hospitality and tourism business?
It's an interesting question, Wayne. I actually was hired for my ignorance, and it's a wonderful thing to talk about your career in that I had been running a number of academic programs, and I was the chair of a graduate program in business, etc. And at that time I worked for Empire State College, which is an independent study adult kind of program. And I did a course for some of the faculty there. And that's how I heard about the job. And they encouraged me to apply for the job. But I was hired to do the job as sort of the head of the faculty because I wasn't a chef. And therefore, my job was to help bring an educational focus to all of the classrooms and to teach the faculty and the department heads how to do non-hierarchical administration, how to do participatory management. Because as you probably know, chefs have a very structured power hierarchy in the kitchen. It's been for years and years and years, and that was part of the brigade system. And I was there and I didn't know. So the faculty member would ask the department head, well, how do you want us to do the hollandaise sauce? What's the CIA way of doing it? And then the department head would ask the director of education. And the director of education would give the answer, and the director of education would tell the department head tell the faculty tell the students. So when I was there, the same thing would happen. They'd ask the department head would come ask me, and I said, how are you going to answer the question? They said, well, just Fred, tell me the answer. What is the answer? We'll do it. We'll follow it. Tell me. I said, what's the way you're going to solve this problem? So all of the faculty agree. They've had a chance to participate in the decision making, and we get the best. No, tell us what. So I did a lot of. It was a fun job. It was a really great job. I was there 12 years. Hired probably 100 and something full-time faculty members. Hired 25 department heads, and my job was to train the department heads how to do things differently than they'd done before.
Okay.
So it was fun. I used to say to my boss when he was the vice president of education, and then and eventually the president, I said, I love this job because it's the first time I was hired for my ignorance. And he said, well, you do have some skills. I said, no, I like being hired for my ignorance.
And I bet you made a lot of connections there as well. Oh, I think, Fred, you froze on the screen.
More fun.
Okay, you're frozen again. So keep talking, and hopefully you'll come back. It must be a bad internet. Okay, there we go.
One of the things about the school is everyone lives, breathes, dreams food. So you always talk about food, and you can talk to anyone at any time, and everyone. We had 2,000 full-time students. We had 100 full-time faculty members and a bunch of other administrators running the buildings and the plants and that kind of stuff. But you got 36 kitchens running 2 shifts a day. Everyone's dreaming food, talking food, doing food. We did 6,000 meals a day at the place. It was fascinating.
Wow.
It was interesting. And then you meet one of the interesting things in the job is I wore a suit and tie every day, all the time, because I never knew who I'd have to entertain, who would show up at the Institute, and someone would say, okay, Fred, would you take this person around, or would you do that? So I had to be prepared to do that. It was a great place. I learned a lot, had a lot of fun, etc. And when I left, I opened my own consulting business for a number of years. And then NYU called me and said, you want to be a faculty member? And I said, what's involved? and they hired me. And then I spent maybe 15 years teaching at NYU in the city.
Well, that's good. Now, yeah. What kind, I have a question about CIA. What kind of, I know they have some restaurants that are open to the public. Where does all the rest of the food go?
I was there, and they've made changes since then. Every student got a breakfast and lunch or brunch and dinner. So and they had to taste the food as part of the curriculum. So it was part of what they were doing. So they got fed as part of that. So we were cooking every kitchen would serve food for different groups of students in this most incredible panoply of who was eating in what kitchen at what time. And the curriculum was a sort of a sequential curriculum. So you take one course intensively for 3 weeks, you'd finish on Friday, you get Monday off, and Tuesday you start a whole new course. Okay. But culinary students and baking and pastry students spend 6.5 hours a day in the class. Wow. Lecture, preparing food, cleaning up, doing everything, etc., and doing homework in addition.
That's I mean, I always love cooking and baking in particular, and but I don't think I want to get into it that deeply. No. I like to go and eat. So.
There you go. That's the pleasure.
So
I like to entertain.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Well. That's my hobby these days.
Now, you had parlayed all your experience here into a book that you wrote a couple years ago, right, which I have here.
After I retired full-time from the Institute, I was at a dinner with friends of mine in a restaurant, and we looked around and we just were astonished at what we saw was really sloppy manners. And it wasn't a fancy restaurant, whatever, but I mean, people were chewing with their mouth open, people were talking with food in their mouth, blah, blah, blah. We both looked at each other and said, this was Michael Gold, who did the photography for the book. We looked at each other. I think he said to me, you write the book, I'll take the pictures. Or maybe I said it to him, we can't remember. And we shook hands, and I went home and started writing. I never thought I would write a book about manners, but it was just, and once I did, it was so much fun. A lot of research, a lot of talk, etc. But you would probably enjoy sometime if you sit down with a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever, there's a whole chapter on horrible things that happen in dining. You know, really everyone's favorite horror story, etc.
I bet there are.
And there's a chapter on being a guest, there's a chapter on being a host, etc. And when we did, it's 165 color photographs. One of my favorite stories is my sister and husband, who lived in Norwalk, Connecticut at the time, had a dinner party for us so we could take pictures of people at the dining room table. And in fact, the 3 people you can see on the cover were part of that dinner. During that dinner, we all were dressed up and eating good food, etc. We asked my sister to blow her nose into a linen napkin. And she said, I can't do that. Mom would roll over in her grave. I can't even begin to think of it. And we said, please, just for the picture, just for the thing. Oh, no, I couldn't do it. We finally convinced her she did it. And we took a whole bunch of photographs. She said, that was really fun. Can I do it again? So there's a lot of pictures of what not to do. A boyfriend at the time picked up a pork chop and ate it like this. There's a picture of someone falling asleep on the table, and that literally happened at my dining room table. He just went, and we got the picture. So it's a fun book to write because it's not Emily Post, and it's not all that fancy stuff. It's like reasonable stuff for kids, particularly who never had dining room table conversations, who don't know what to do if they're in a professional setting. You know, and
these days, so many kids and families aren't even eating together They're
That's right.
somebody's grabbing something on the run or on the go, which leads to that pork chop in the hand kind of experience, because they were eating on the run and not eating together and not sitting down at the table. I mean, so many of my friends, their families don't eat together, and I remember as a kid, we always ate together. Whoever was home was expected to be at dinner, and that's where we learned some of these things that kids aren't even getting exposed to these days.
Yeah, and you can't blame them. They don't know. And also a lot of people coming from foreign countries who want to make it in American business or in a profession, and they don't know what to do about, the knife and the fork and the this and the that, et cetera. So it's full of a friendly advice, but it's also, I explain the reason for why we do it, not just the fact of it. So it's not about rules. It's about a conversation. One of the worst things to do if you're looking for a hostess gift and you're coming for dinner is to bring fresh cut flowers.
Oh, how come?
Well, because I'm single, so if someone brings me flowers, I got to take the flowers, cut them, put them in water, arrange them. I got to find a vase, and those vases are usually on a hidden closet or under the sink or whatever. I got to wash the vase, clean the vase, put the flowers. Then I got to find a place to put it to show that I appreciate it. Meanwhile, I haven't spent any time with my guests because I just spent 15 minutes in the kitchen. And I have a few other things like entertaining and cooking and whatever.
Okay.
If you're going to bring flowers, bring them already arranged in a vase and give the vase away. Yeah. But otherwise, it's just right?
Right. That makes perfect sense. And as you were saying it all did click in. I would have thought if I were going to do it, I would bring it in whatever it was going to be displayed in, personally.
Well, that's perfect. That's lovely. Or bring a plan if you want. And there's actually about 4 pages of hostess gifts.
Okay.
Because most people don't know what to do in that situation.
Right. I'm definitely going to have to get the book.
There you go.
And I was at a breakfast. I think it was a breakfast. No, it was a dinner a couple of weeks ago for where an award was being given out to somebody. It was a Rotary dinner. And I was sitting next to a couple of people from the theater that I'm involved with. And one of the guys said one of the best things that he was ever told when he was first in corporate America and expected to go out to dinner is somebody pulled him aside and did this, which you can't really see, when you're looking at B&D, bread and
butter on the left, drinks on the right.
Right. And he says that was one of the best things that one of his business associates showed him. So it just eliminated all of the hassle of, okay, whose bread plate and whose drink glass, especially when you're at a table of 10 that really should only be a table of 8 and everything is so close together.
Everything is close together.
So, so you don't know which one to grab. So he shared that. And I knew that already, but I didn't know that trick. So that's going to make it easier going forward. But I just thought it was interesting that's.
Does your audience have kids?
At the theater?
No, I mean in the show here.
Not so many kids. No, mostly adults.
Because I invented a way to teach kids how to set the table, and maybe adults need to know it too. You put 4 letters in fork, F-O-R-K.
Yeah.
Right, and 4 letters in left, L-E-F-T. So the fork goes on the left. There's 5 letters in right, R-I-G-H-T, and there's 5 letters in knife, K-N-I-F-E, and there's 5 letters in spoon, S-P-O-O-N. So you put the 5-letter things on the side with 5 letters, and the 4-letter things on the side with 4 letters.
That's great to know too. And it's
but no one ever taught us that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of fun stuff.
Right. Of course, and then. When you get all the extra forks and spoons, they're always fun because nobody deals with those in, typical daily conversation anymore, or, meals with the extra spoons and the teaspoons and I think you've frozen on us again, unfortunately. Let's see. I don't know what happened to Fred's connection. Your picture's still there, Fred. Hopefully you're still there. Oh, there we go.
Wayne?
Yep. Now you're back.
There you are.
Yep. There we go. Yeah.
From the outside in.
Yep. From the outside in. So,
but the whole point is good food, good company, good wine. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Everyone should be comfortable.
Right.
Like chatting with you. Everyone should be comfortable chatting with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know I got to know Fred up at Easton Mountain last week for an event we were at. And I was very comfortable chatting with you too in all the different settings that we were in. So I knew you'd be a great guest for the show. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And what I'd like to do is just ask you to just hang out in the green room for a second while I wrap up the show and talk about some upcoming guests, and I'll be right with you.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. And everybody get his book. So thanks for joining me today. I know we had a little bit of connection issues a couple times, but we worked through them. So thanks for hanging in there. You can find me on waynelease.com. And if you'd like to set up an appointment to chat with me about any of the different things that I do, from massage to hug therapy to essential oils, feel free to set up an appointment. And here's my calendar link. And next week, we are going to be speaking with Nick Vanello, also someone I met up at Easton, and he is the founder of Go Naked magazine. So it should be an interesting conversation. And we have some other interesting guests coming up in the next few weeks. So I always, as always, I want to encourage you all to go out, make a connection, and live your best lives. And don't forget to like my page or my YouTube channel so that you get notified of these events. So thanks again for joining me, and have a fantastic afternoon.